5 declining teams in the NBA. My name is Joshua Envyerz. I'm not saying that any of these teams are terrible teams. All I'm saying is that in a few years, all of these teams may not be in the playoffs if they don't get younger or move 1 or 2 players here and there. So let's get started first with the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks finished with a 43-39 record this season and made the playoffs 10 consecutive years in a row, which is absolutely amazing considering they've never really had that star player in recent years, at least. Especially when your 2 best players in Paul Millsap and Dwight Howard are on the upper age of 30 and you don't really have any help for them, well, it's not looking so good. A lot of comparisons in the past were comparing Dennis Schroeder to a prime Rajon Rondo, and now I feel like those comparisons are completely 180, considering Dennis Schroeder is not the player Rajon Rondo was. He is not a pass-first point guard. This man is looking to score the basketball, and he turns it over a lot. Mind you, he's only 23 years old and he has a whole lot of years to improve, but I don't like the idea of Dennis Schroeder being essentially the only young player that is looking to carry their franchise right now after Paul Millsap and Dwight Howard. Who knows, maybe a rookie they draft this year or a rookie like Taurean Prince can become something for this team and help this weird Atlanta Hawks team that just always seems to do good in the regular season but never really has a chance in winning a championship. Moving on to another struggling Eastern Conference team, the Chicago Bulls. Every single year the Bulls always feel like they put the best paper team together, hoping to win as many games as possible, especially this year with the signing of Rondo, Dwayne Wade, and keeping Jimmy Butler as well. They have a plethora of guards and not a lot of shooting. While Bulls fans were doubting this team at the beginning of the season, somehow they managed to make the playoffs this year, beating out the Miami Heat in a tiebreaker. But how much longer is this going to last for the Bulls? I mean, an 8th seed in the playoffs isn't something to be proud about. You know, you're going against the top team in the Western or Eastern Conference. I guess if you're a young team and you're not expected to be there, then yeah, it's something to fight for. But if you're a veteran team like the Bulls, you shouldn't be content with an 8th seed. Dwayne Wade has a player option this upcoming season and looks to be on the books along with Rondo as well. And with all the trade rumors surrounding Jimmy Butler this season, maybe a trade might be the best thing for the Bulls, unfortunately. Next, we have the Indiana Pacers. A very similar situation as the Bulls, with a lot of trade rumors surrounding their star player in Paul George. This season there was a lot of trade rumors between the Celtics and Pacers saying, oh, we'll trade the 1st overall pick for Paul George. That didn't happen, and now there's probably going to be more talks this offseason as well. But when you look at this team as a whole, this team should be winning more. On paper, before the season even started, this was a paper champion team. This team looked like they could have easily won a playoffs series and possibly even go to the finals before the season started. But then reality checked in and they managed to just hold on to that 7th seed this year. Other than Miles Turner, there's not a lot of promising future in Indiana. I guess if you count on Glenn Robinson turning into something, I mean, he won the dunk contest. He could possibly be a player, a sidekick. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever know if the leg injury that Paul George received will affect his career. Before the injury, we were comparing him to superstar status, you know, comparing him with the guys of LeBron James and Kevin Durant. But now, other players have emerged for MVP candidates, and he's kind of stayed the same. The analogy to my life, breaking a leg. Luckily, they got rid of Rodney Stuckey's disgusting contract for what he was worth. Now, all they got to find a place to put Monte Ellis in. His $11 million contract with a player option doesn't look that promising for what he's putting up with the Pacers. Doesn't play that much defense. Not efficient scorer. That pains me to say, considering I'm probably one of the biggest Monte Ellis fans. But a team that does play defense is the Memphis Grizzlies, and they're up next. This team is one of the most underrated teams in the NBA, and probably they would be getting more shine if they were put in the Eastern Conference, which I strongly would hope that happens, you know, considering Memphis, Tennessee is relatively close to the Eastern Conference teams, and maybe if you add a team in Vancouver or Seattle or who knows where else, that could be a real thing for the Grizzlies to move to the Eastern Conference. Marc Gasol is one of the most underrated bigs in the league, along with Mike Conley being one of the most underrated point guards in the league. And I guess you could argue now saying Mike Conley isn't really underrated because underrated players don't get paid max contracts. But they definitely aren't a young team, and they don't look like they have a future, really. Zach Randolph is on the upper age of 35, and He's a free agent this season along with Tony Allen and Vince Carter. Who knows if he's going to retire? So the question emerges is, do you re-sign these players or do you let your young guys play, considering this season a lot of their young guys did play? They have the biggest thief in the, actually second biggest thief in the NBA in Chandler Parsons, because the first biggest thief is Joakim Noah. He's robbing the Knicks. I feel like that Chandler Parsons signing is really going to take this Memphis Grizzlies a few steps back, especially this season. They could have been better than what they were, but they paid Chandler Parsons a whole lot of money, and he has a tendency of being injured. So maybe trade a player here and there for a draft pick and draft a small forward and try to develop them. But who knows, maybe this Memphis Grizzlies team can become exactly like the San Antonio Spurs, where each year, every single year, people are counting this team out. They're saying they're too old, they're going to start declining, but somehow manage to make playoff appearances year after year. I feel like that could possibly be the Memphis Grizzlies. We'll have to wait and find out. Lastly, the Los Angeles Clippers. This is by far the most interesting team on this list. They have huge free agents in Chris Paul and Blake Griffin this offseason. I feel like the Clippers can bring both of these players back and not misstep a beat, but they won't be any better than what they are. Right now they were the 4th seed this season, but the Jazz are getting better, and Oklahoma seems to have an MVP candidate in Russell Westbrook. They're going to be better next year. So if you bring back both these players and not add anything else, you're probably going to lose JJ Redick. You're probably going to be slipping the ranks in the playoffs as well. Which is kind of crazy considering a few years ago, people thought this team was the next team up in the Western Conference, and this team was going to make it to the finals, win a championship, and unfortunately that was incorrect. It was the Golden State Warriors. They were the next team up. They won a championship, and now they're the top dog in the Western Conference. This Clippers team needs a major change. Who knows if it will be this season, next season, or never, but this core of the Clippers really feels like they can't win a championship together. They're missing something. I don't know what that something is, but they're missing it, and hopefully they find it. So do you agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comment section below on your 5 declining teams in the NBA. Be sure to press the like button and check out some of these other videos of mine.
I see what you meant when you said that I wasn't here. Everywhere that we went, all those guys that we met, every time I was there, I felt no fear. Baby girl, you know, I ain't never been in this for sure.